When I was 5 years old, I jumped out of a treehouse and broke my arm. My cousin, in a decade-long campaign of torment, had removed the ladder while I devoured my Superman comics. Not yet familiar with the laws of physics, I threw to the ground what seemed ample padding for my descent. It was a 2-inch thick pillow, and I was 12 feet in the air. Turns out that pillow could have been 2 feet thick and it wouldn't have mattered because I missed the target entirely and snapped my arm in two. Head first was an odd choice. More memorable than any part of the incident was the day the doctor removed my cast. I sat silently mesmerized by the device that effortlessly chewed through rock-hard plaster yet merely tickled my arm. I sincerely believe it was that very day that began a lifelong love affair with tools. So I have this friend who sends me beautiful chunks of wood from all over the world. Random days I'll walk outside to find some piece of some tree that grew in some part of the planet that somehow has landed on my doorstep. This friend is a drummer and a doctor and an incredibly generous, supportive human, and I've been building drums for him for some time now. I should probably mention, in addition to building furniture, I also build drums for a living. 29 years ago, while waiting at Wood College for lumber to arrive for my next project, I decided to take a stab at building my own drum shells. The drum kit I'd had as a child had basically turned to dust from apathy and general mishandling. And poverty, being one of the mothers of invention, drove me to figure out how to replace it on the cheap. That very first kit I built, I wouldn't jack my car up with that batch of firewood today, but at the time it was a revelation. It was such a joy to build and would prove to be the seedling for a future idea. Years later, I revisited this circular endeavor and started my own drum company. We called it Sugar Percussion, named for my daughter, Ruby Sugar, promising all profits would go to her future therapy to undo all I'd screwed up. We will, without question, talk more about this spectacular human later. For now, we'll lean into the drums. By the time I'd sold my first snare drum, I had been building furniture for 15 years. I believe most drum builders come to it as drummers, whereas I was entering as a woodworker, only a hobby drummer. This was an easier learning curve to climb, given compared to the furniture I had learned to build, making circles was far simpler woodworking. My biggest hurdle was how to make them to the quality I wanted without being cost prohibitive. You see, 90% of the drum industry is automated, employing massive machinery to make plywood shells. There wasn't a thing new or better I could add to that world, so we made them the way my woodworking brain worked. Solid wood, stave shells, like a wine barrel, multiple pieces angled to form a circle that we could refine into a beautiful instrument. This method made sense to me, and it was a niche within the industry not only not already saturated, but one to which I felt I could actually add something new and good. I spent the first few years working in and around full-time furniture work, refining and refining the process. I had drummer friends to whom I'd bring prototypes to hear them play, and then we'd talk into the wee hours discussing what did and didn't work. I'd spend the following week improving on the previous one and do it all over again. There was this Tuesday night gig with a really great drummer and truly sweet human, and for months I brought a new snare drum every week. Those conversations informed all that went into this company, and I spent every spare hour refining what would become the flagship model. When we finally had our inaugural batch, I contacted every friend I knew in the music industry and asked who were the best engineer producers at the time. With a list of 10 whales, I wrote 10 letters. Hi, my name is Jefferson, and I build drums. I'm sending you this snare drum I made, asking only for your thoughts. Please beat the crap out of it and tell me what you think. If you hate it, send it back. If you love it, keep it, and send me some money so I can make some more. Not one of those 10 was returned, and a company was born. I want to take a quick moment here to express a sincere appreciation for the warm welcome to this YouTube medium. I posted my first set of videos a month ago with the honest expectation of 100 views, 95 of which from my sweet mom clicking restart had she figured out how to log in sooner. But instead, you all met me with a wave of kindness, something I had cynically deemed impossible in a social media setting. My head lives in a precarious tug-of-war between wanting to talk about the thing I love and the fear I'll be picked apart for doing so. I recognize there doesn't exist a voice more critical than my own, but the thought of others agreeing with me is haunting. So thank you very, very much. That welcome was really special to me. Okay, carrying on. So we're building a drum. 2 actually. And right now we're packing up the pieces we've milled, loading them in the car with snacks and Carol, and heading to California. Ostensibly to build drums, but really it's about Carol and her grandma. These two are each other's most favorite thing in the world. This would probably be a good time to mention we have 2 shops we work in. The original was and remains in California, Santa Cruz, about 90 minutes southwest of San Francisco. I moved there because it was directly in between my daughter's grandmas. It's a beautiful place, has a lot to offer. It and I were never a great match, given I really love to work, I don't surf, and I freak out on weed. But I recognize the specific itch that city scratches. It was perfect for the proximity to Grandma's, but when Ruby was done with it, so was I. My car was basically packed at her high school graduation, and the 2 of us headed north. Her to the University of Washington, and me to Portland, Oregon. A town I'd fallen in love with over the past 10 years of visiting. My drum building partner, Noah, continues to run the shop in Santa Cruz while I run the one in Portland. Were it any other person than Noah, I'm not sure this would all work. He's the reason it's all possible. He is, and forever will be, in my top 5 humans list. Okay, let's get into it. Right now we're machining the angles on all the individual staves we spent these first 9 minutes milling out of 2 gorgeous planks of red gum that my friend had sent all the way from Western Australia. All laid out in the prettiest flow, we tape them up. I once did the math on how much packing tape we've used in the 12 years of building drums. In a word, disturbing. All taped up, we do one last blowout for debris, dust, and dog hair. And then prep the glue. Yep, Elmer's white glue. The very same stuff you ate in kindergarten. We get a lot of raised eyebrows, but after 28 years of gluing things together, it remains my favorite. We also test it regularly. If the shell breaks not on the glue joint, but within the stave, it means the glue is stronger than the wood itself. Side note, if anybody knows anyone at the Elmer's Corporation, we'd love to make a promotional video for them. Not to mention discuss product endorsement and shoe contract. Okay, back to it. Coming up is the really fun part. The one where even after 1,000 circles, it still makes me a little giddy. Taped, glued, and rolled, we reach for the band clamps to squeeze it tight. These are essentially tourniquets that deliver even pressure around the circle and hold it until the glue is cured. A quick cleanup, and then we leave them for the night. Return the next day to a solid circle. Next morning, we unwrap and inspect the circles. And if everything looks good, we move to the next phase. What we've built is not yet a round circle, but rather a faceted one. So the next step is to smooth out the flats and roughly size the circle to its ordered dimension. We have a series of face plates we made that allow us to attach this rough circle to the first lathe. There are index pins on the lathe's faceplate that register into the drum's faceplate that allow us to accurately position the pair, and then we bolt the two together. It would take me an entire video to adequately describe the glory that is this beautiful lathe, so instead we'll keep it short and simply assure you it's the Cadillac of lathes. Mounted to this Rube Goldberg apparatus are two routers that carve a perfect circle out of the faceted one. We intentionally glue up these drums oversized, knowing we'll machine the sized circle we want from within it. We nudge the routers for a little test cut, and when all things line up, we turn the whole thing on and carve ourselves a circle. Someday I'll tell the story of the drum that blew up in my face when we used to turn them on a conventional lathe. The very last one we ever did like that. Next, we move to lathe number 2. This one's set up to spin much faster, and it's where we do all the sanding. The big lathe does a beautiful job machining a round circle, but the routers leave a chewed finish, so it's on this second lathe where we dial in the finish on the wood. After we've gone through all the grits, it's time to true up a finished edge. More routers, more custom-made jigs. I realize watching this process for the first time, it could look, I don't know, simple. This entire process is on its 1,000th iteration and is constantly evolving. The first drums we built took forever to make. And over the years, we've really squeezed that process everywhere we can to minimize the time it takes to get to a drum we're proud to sell. With one end trued up and flat, we measure to the ordered depth and cut the drum off. Next up, we start shaping the bearing edges. This is the part that makes contact with the drum head, and how it's treated greatly affects how the drum sounds, how easily it tunes, and of no less importance, how it looks. No ugly sides. More wisdom from Wood College. Everything matters. I'd say we get more positive feedback on the inside of our drums than anything else. I suppose most people expect less from things not often seen. But every time a drummer swaps out a head, they get a glimpse of who the maker really is and how much they cared. I would also venture that looking at the underside of a maker's work gives you a pretty good glimpse into the noise in their head. So noisy. Next up, we start the layout for all the hardware that'll be attached to the drum. Lugs, throw-off, butt plate, vent hole, and the company badge. Then over to the drill press. Next up are the snare beds. Without going too far into the drum weeds, these are depressions shaped into the bottom of the snare shell so that the snare wires, when engaged, will sit with even tension across the bottom head. There's a whole nother episode's worth in that conversation as well. And then we go back on the lathe for a final shaping by hand. I love this part. You're quite literally massaging the shape of a drum with your hands in real time. Almost like clay on a wheel. There's a lot of nuance to this part. And it's here in this process where you can really nudge the tendencies of a drum in any particular direction. I love nuance. At this point, we collect the drums and, much to my mom's dismay, the dog, and head back up to Oregon. We do a final sanding through all the grits with an orbital sander in preparation for finish. Start with the vent hole. Then saturate the shell with the first coat. When the outside's dry, we move to the interior. This first coat's all about giving it a good soak. We let the drums dry overnight and then start again the next day. It's rinse and repeat until we get a proper build on the finish. How many coats really just depends on how you want it to look. Less glossy, more natural, or all the way up to a buffed out high gloss. Just a matter of taste. Some woods are quite happy in the shadows, while others beg for a spotlight. Begging for a spotlight. That would make a fitting title to the first 10 years of my career. Turns out working with crippling insecurity can make for some pretty exciting projects. We'll talk about that another time. It's interesting, the difference between the furniture and the drums. I built furniture for 15 years before I sold my first drum. I loved, and still do, presenting something beautiful that a family can use and enjoy for generations. It's fulfilling in a very specific way. But the drums, though I had imagined would just be another fancy wooden thing I made, scratched a completely different itch, one I didn't even know I had. There's something uniquely special about making a tool for someone else to do what they love. Something they discovered as a kid, some kind of magical express bus to joy they never want to get off. And to be able to facilitate them expressing themselves it's narcotic. They're doing it because they love it, and if what I love doing helps them coax an ounce more love from it, then I get the high too. I'm like a benevolent drug dealer. It's funny sometimes when I reflect on it. It was just going to be a bunch of wooden circles, and now look how much it means to me. I am equal parts proud of and thankful for it. It's not unlike having a spectacular kid, one you might even name a company after. It's perfect in a way I didn't know perfect could be.